Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. And check out that eye, that's exactly what we want to see. Woo, look at that panel, baby. And that, as they say, is that. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today I'm going to be doing an overview of these latest collected editions from Dark Horse Comics. So let's go ahead and check them out together. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Dark Horse Comics for sending us copies of these collected editions. Every one of these books has already been released in the direct market and book market. So this isn't your first view video like I do most of the time. This is more of a catch-up video as to what Dark Horse has released recently in the last few months. And as always, I do leave timestamps in the description of the video if you want to jump around, if you're curious just about a couple of titles, or if you don't want any kind of spoilers. And also a small reminder to hit that like button, please. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Small thing you can do, but it does mean the world to us. Now that we got the formalities out of the way, I do put a seal of approval on one book, and it was really difficult this time around because there's just so many great titles that Dark Horse has released recently. But only one book can get the seal of approval. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with the smallest, cutest book here, and that is the Chibi Usagi, Attack of the Heebie Chibis. Okay, Chibi Usagi, Attack of the Heebie Chibis. This is the expanded edition, and it is a little bit smaller than the other Dark Horse trade paperbacks. It's not quite digest size, but I did want to make sure people knew it's a little bit smaller. Expanded edition, meaning that this has come out already. And what does expanded mean? Well, it does collect little side stories towards the back, but all of the Attack of the Heebie-Jeebies are here. I said Jeebies, didn't I? I told myself I was not going to do that. Chibis. The book has 184 pages and retails for a total of $14.99. This is, of course, by Stan Sakai with Julie Sakai, and also Emi Fuji doing a lot of the color work in here. And it's all the story of Chibi versions of Usagi and Gen, and also Tomoe, and just dealing with some of the bad things that are happening around their life. And no, they do not call each other Chibi the entire time. They actually kind of cut it off towards the first page, and this just becomes Gen, Tomoe, and Usagi. What ends up happening is that they're fishing, they're trying to get some food, and in the very first story, we have them accidentally get a unagi, which is this eel right here. But then Gen goes out of his way to try to find Tomoe something. And he finds her this little guy right here who's a little mud, I guess like a mud baby. And he's asking for help. He's asking them to fix him. So they go and gather some mud. And then he tells them his horrific background story, how he came to be. This is Dogu. And I do love the fact that in here you're going to see some traditional Japanese sayings and traditional Japanese lore thrown in here with just little notes. Hajime Mashite, for example, means nice to meet you for the first time. So in case you're not familiar with the Japanese language, I love that. So Dogu tells him apparently here the evil Salamander King came with a bunch of his Heebie Chibis to enslave his people. So now it is up to our group of friends to go and free them. That's it. That's what this is. It's adorable. It looks like this. And of course, characters from Stan Sakai. Other characters show up through here. This little short story, I'm not sure if it was collected in the original Heebie Chibis, but this is where he's fighting a Tengu. This is our Usagi Yojimbot that we're used to. And then he gets knocked out and wakes up and runs into Chibi Usagi. It's adorable, cute, and yeah, I can't say any more about that than you can already see on the pages. And then we have the little short stories that are done in black and white. We've got the cover art back here. And then we even have like glossary and some more expansions on that Japanese lore. And I think this is the first cover right here of Attack of the Heebie Chibis. The special Usagi Yojimbot back covers. And those are adorable. And the book is printed in this glossy paper stock. And this is definitely one for all ages. And apparently there's the Adventures of Chibi Usagi game details inside. And I just realized we have a lot of books to go through, so I'm going to try to do this a little bit quicker. Here we have the Seance in the Asylum. And this is by Clay McLeod Chapman and Leonardo Marcelo Grassi and Mauro Gulma, with Frank Vetovic as the letter and Andre Moody supplying the cover art here. The book is 96 pages and retails for $19.99. The really quick premise of this is towards the end of the Civil War, so it's in 1865, where we have this defrauded spiritual medium named Alicia Wilkinson. She ends up being asked to come to the Ashcroft Hospital by Dr. Templeton, because he wants to give her a second chance in life. He believes that she actually has the power to talk to the spirits. And now she has the second chance to make sure that her career stays alive this time. So she performs seances amongst these patients in order to draw out their mental evils in them, if you will. That's what Dr. Templeton believes. So as she is performing her series of seances, you will experience, or she will experience, and you through her, of course, that she is capable of talking to the dead, and she's talking to some of these soldiers that were killed during the Civil War, and women who were murdered, and it just goes in through all of these horrible things that happened during this time. And also, is she a fake? And that's the question that you have at the beginning. Is she cheating everybody out of money? Is she trying to, make a name for herself again? So yeah, that's exactly what this is. This is a quick little short horror story, and we got quite a few of those, and hey, it is right around that time of Halloween. Printed in this glossy paper stock, and then in the back we have the cover gallery right here, including some variant covers. And again, the book has 96 pages and retails for $19.99. The writer. Is that Josh Gad? Of course it is. As soon as I saw this, whenever I was going over the upcoming collected editions, I thought, wait a second, is he writing himself like Keanu Reeves in Berserker? Sort of. So this is written by Josh Gad and the Berkowitz brothers, Ariel Olivetti doing the artwork, and Frank Vitovic doing the lettering. Here's all the praise for this particular and very unique book, by the way. We start off with a glossary and mythology and folklore. So you have Yiddish glossary, and then you have the Jewish mythology and folklore over here. And it will come in handy, honestly. I love the fact that you have it here. Some of the stuff you probably are familiar with. Some of the stuff, maybe not. I don't know. It really depends on just how much you've read or how much you know. We start off with the story of King Solomon. And as it turns out, it is a father reading this to his son. This is Stan Siegel, and this story will revolve around him and his family. So we fast forward some years. Stan is a big comic book writer, creator, and you can see that he hasn't had time for his family. So his wife is yelling at him, talking about how they're kiddo. This is Izzy, who's getting picked on for being black and Jewish. And he has to deal with that kind of stuff. So he goes to the diner and ends up meeting this old man who is killing this creature. And what the old man does is write something quick down and stuff it in Stan's face. And then Stan becomes like this golem type of creature. And he goes back home and he tells his mom, I gotta find out what was Dad doing? What was he up to? This has something to do with Dad. And sure enough, it takes him on this cute, amazing journey of just not, sounds stereotypical, but not just self-discovery, but also getting reconnected with his family. So along for the ride is Liz, that's his mom, and his daughter Izzy, who will try to help him out on this adventure. And the adventure, teaching people about the different lores and stuff, and what kind of powers he has whenever he eats what the written word is. And I like the limitations too, because there are limits to his powers and what he can do, as you'll find out through here. And what ended up happening to his dad, the dad that would tell him just all these stories, and who is really after him. Again, we're going to go see creatures and mythical beings like Lilith over here until they get to the fight, whenever I see stories stories like this, I just call it the final boss. But yes, eventually we do get to this big final boss. And what does it all mean for a character like Stan, who has endless amounts of ideas because of his imagination? In the back, you do get some bonus material. I think that is a take on the Monster Unleashed, the Hulk cover. And then that is definitely Josh Gad right there. And then you get the superpowers here, which I don't want to spoil. Character designs by Ariel Olivetti, and then some notes from Megan Walker, who was the artist at the time. The book itself has a total of 104 pages and retails for $19.99. Renegade Royale. This is actually a follow-up to another comic called Renegade Rule, which guess who did not read? And guess who was not lost? This guy! That's right. The story's by Ben Kahn and Rachel Silverstein. Sam Beck is doing the artwork. Jim Campbell doing the lettering. So this is a story about 4 friends in this particular world where VR gaming, so virtual reality gaming, has become a form of entertainment and life for a lot of people. And it's this championship that's about to take place called the Renegade Rule, which, again, this is Renegade Royale. Now, at the very beginning, we have a flashback of one of our main characters. This is Tanya right here, who has a wide imagination, and her dad is like trying to keep her from using her imagination because she just becomes a wreck. And then we get to present day. Again, I didn't know there was a previous series. There is a wedding where the 4 friends are reunited, and the 4 friends are part of this group called the Manhattan Mist that are trying out in this virtual reality world. And let me just actually get to the main characters. So we have Tanya, and we've got Sasha, and Jesse, and Amanda. So these 4 friends are the ones that are going to be fighting in this VR tournament. And when they get to the virtual reality tournament is when they get to look like this, like almost like a fantasy type of characters or JRPGs, and they all have different powers and abilities. And it's not like when you die in the game, you die in the real world. Nothing like that, but there's money at stake and there's friendships at stake. What really, really surprised me, and I forgot to mention this earlier, it doesn't say the rating on this. Let's see. It's general, LGBTQ+, comics and graphic novels. But there really should be a rating on these books. I don't know why Dark Horse doesn't. I just noticed it here, too. Occult and Supernatural. I guess if you want to keep your kids away from occult and supernatural and horror. But this one, it was the language that surprised me because of the artwork through here. I thought it was like a book for all ages. As it turns out, maybe like teens. And then all the way in the back, or older teens rather, you have character design, especially for the video game. And you get to see some of the villains, or I guess what they call villains, and then the bio on the creators. 120 pages, $19.99. Masked Macher. So this is a story. It's a period piece that collects the Masked Macher 1 through 4. There is enough material, I think there's more story after this, or I hope there is. This is by David Goodman, Alex Andre, and Gonzalo Duarte, and Mauro Mantella working on this book. And a period piece because it is set in 1938. Or 1933, that's how it starts. 1933 or 1934, sometime in the 1930s. It was a long time ago, I have to say. So it is about a Hollywood actor. And this guy's name is Tony Hollywood. Aspiring actor, sorry. And he is due for rent, and he thinks that he can own all this town one day, all of Hollywood. So what he ends up doing is he goes to meet a director, and on his way there, his car breaks down. And somebody says, hey, would you like to come in? I need somebody to work this job. And it's $5 for you if you want to do it. But you need to play the role of the Masked Macher. And he's like, what's a Macher? It's Yiddish, means big shot. And apparently it was her husband's idea. So what it is, it's a wrestling match here. Not a lot of people are seeing it, not a lot of excitement. But as soon as the Masked Macher steps in, fighting against Louisa here, people get excited again. And we even have appearances here that are part of the group. It's Joe Lewis coming in here, and that's Wong. And this group of people will kind of become like his family. He's kind of a jerk. He's still trying to get a job out there, but his rent is due. He runs into people like Humphrey Bogart here. He has to fight Benny the Bear. And it's all about coming back to this wrestling match, or this wrestling ring, and finding out that there's more to wrestling than, you know, I guess pretending to be somebody you're not. And I think there is definitely enough story left here for more comics. I really enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun, taken by complete surprise, and I did not know what to expect. I never read the synopsis of stories. I just like jumping in. And based on the cover with something like this, I had no idea I was going to read a story with Joe Lewis in the background. But yes, that's what this is. The book has a total of 104 pages, $19.99. There are some extras in the back, mainly the cover art, and then there's cover art in the front. Interesting enough, this starts with the Masked Macher 2 cover for some reason. Birdking Volume 3. Look, I gave the seal of approval to the first one. I love these books so much. And starting off with the map on the end sheets, yes. Crom and Daniel Friedman are the creators of the book. You have Crom doing the artwork and Daniel Friedman doing the writing. Michael David Thomas is your letterer. And every one of these is just a joy to read. And continuing the journey of Bianca. Now, in here, towards the beginning, spoilers for what happened previously, by the way, because this is Volume 3. We have Bianca with her friend here, Amela, I think is how you pronounce her name, and this stranger right here. And the stranger is Jung, and they all got captured, and they're being taken to a city, and she got separated from the Bird King. And where they're headed to is kind of where she thinks she wants to go. The Golden City of Atlas. And in here, she's going to meet someone named the All-Father. While she was in prison, she was in shackles, the All-Father decides to meet her. And in a way, it almost kind of becomes the ending of this journey. She's been looking for a new home since she's lost most of her family and most of her friends. And the only one she's been traveling with is, of course, well, besides Amela, is the Bird King. But little does she know there's secrets, of course, in this city. Not everything is it seems. It's too perfect, almost, for her to ignore. So she embarks on a journey to try to find the Bird King by herself, and then seeing about where are her friends. And what is the secret of the All-Father? Yeah, this is another one that is super enjoyable. I love these series. The book itself is just full of amazing artwork, and it's always a joy to read. In the back, you do get the Making of Birdking 3. I hope one day they do the right thing and collect these in a big library edition whenever the journey is all said and done. And you get thumbnail art here for the pages and the layouts, and even the cover layout here for Volume 3. And then bio on Daniel Friedman and Crom. But yes, that is Birdking Volume 3. Summer Shadows. So this was a book that was, I think, it was a Comixology exclusive at first. Maybe not. Alright, so let's go ahead and open it up. This is by John Harris Dooning, Ricardo Cabral, Brad Simpson, and Jim Campbell. And that is Veronica there. So this is a mystery type of story with some well, do I spoil what kind of monsters? Never mind. So it all starts off here in the Greek islands, where we have I guess this is our main character right here. This is Nick Landry, who's from London. He's coming to Greece to try to find Anthony. And they had been split up, but he knows something is going on. Something is wrong because Anthony has not had contact with him outside of this letter. So he came here to try to, do a little bit of searching, trying to find out what happened to Anthony. There's also something else going on this very island, because we have this Coast Guard officer right here, Alikos. He is approached by this young girl because she's telling him that there was a German guy that she met, and what is his name? Kaliak? I think it is something like that. Kaliak. And he went missing. So these two stories have a lot to do with each other. Very, very... Kalki, that's his name. Very similar to their disappearances. This guy just kind of went missing by the sea. So what happened? They both got onto this jet black super yacht that was out in the sea, and then they vanished. So who is behind this, and who is that lady Veronica that approaches Nick? So this one has a lot of mystery, a lot of twists and turns. not really a whodunit, but more of a, I guess, what done it, since we're dealing with these kind of creatures. So in the back here, we have some of the artwork right there, and then we have some of the character designs. The book itself has a total of 136 pages and retails for $24.99. The Brood, from the world of Minor Threats. Now, we know Minor Threats is getting a library edition, and I hope this makes it on there one day, too. Sorry, I was trying to see the rating on this one. Crime Mystery. Yeah, I don't think Dark Horse really does a rating. It's just the same as the others, mainly due to the language. But, oh my gosh, this one here melted my heart in a different way. So, I wasn't expecting to just fall in love with these characters. You have Heath Corson, who did the script, and the stories by Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom with Heath Corson. I.N.J. Kubert is the artist. Ned Piekos is the letterer. This is a story of a villain. This is Napoleon Archimedes. And he is the arch nemesis of this superhero right here, the Searcher. They have fought each other for decades. As a matter of fact, they explain for 4 decades. In the very first issue, the pitch of this is you find out that while he was, you get his background story, why he became the way that he was, and while he's been fighting the character of the Searcher, he's built his own family. He's got 3 kids. He's got Athena, Benjamin, and Spook Show. Those are his kids. And of course he's still married, so his lovely wife is a part of the family as well. She's kind of a badass type of assassin. But in the first issue, you find out, so this collects this 4-issue miniseries, that fighting the Searcher and being the proximity of the Searcher has left him just a broken mess. So he's dying. He's got a year to live, is what he's told. He's got 1 year because apparently he's got this cancer, this rare form of cancer, and that comes from years of fighting the Searcher. So what he does here is he tries to leave his legacy behind as a supervillain. But it's so much more than that, because it's about the kids just realizing their father, he opens up to them. He tells them, like, hey, I'm going to die. This is it. One of you is going to have to take over. One of you is going to have to become this supervillain. And I wasn't expecting to just love this book. It was amazing. I've been a big fan of Minor Threats, and they're all so unique and different. Like Barfly is so different than the Minor Threats stories. But yeah, they just keep that same level of amazing storytelling that I love. Because I think when you look at something like this, or when you hear about Minor Threats, you think, oh, Patton Oswalt, comedian, goofy. But no, there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of darkness. It's a lot of sadness in these stories. I've already compared it, I think it's like Watchmen almost in the way that the stories are done. This is a beautiful scene right here between Napoleon and his lady. Like, damn. So, in the back we do get, I don't want to talk about what happens, you can find out for yourself, but it's all set in the world of Minor Threats. Here's the character designs. I think Agatha's my favorite kid. The book has a total of 120 pages and retails for $19.99. By a Thread. Now, this was a Comixology original. Yes, it was. And this is by Scott Snyder and his son Jack Snyder. It is by Valeria Favocchia and Whitney Koger. And Tom Napolitano doing the lettering. This is a sci-fi type of adventure story. Like a little bit of Goonies in there. With Waterworld. Yes, I said Waterworld. I actually like Waterworld. Okay, so it all starts about 10 years ago. We get a little bit of a flashback. Shout out to LaGrange, Kentucky, by the way, where it all starts. Where we see this little square right here. And people didn't know what it was, so they came and saw, and apparently this square is deadly. So it started absorbing the life out of this bird and killing it. And then we get, I'm sorry, 13 years. That's I don't know why I said 10 years. And then we get the entire world just being absorbed by this darkness. Eventually, most of the world is engulfed. So society, like people that are living, have to live in these like high elevation places. So this is 13 years later where we meet the character of Joe. He's looking for his friend Cannon. And this is all an adventure that's about to happen. So Joe and his friends, And the way they travel are through like almost like a zip line type of technology. And we meet his other friends through here too. And I really like Charlie because they do have a past together. Now Joe, you'll notice, has like this arm, it's like this mechanical arm right here because something has happened to him in the past. So we end up meeting one of the villains here through this series. And they're attacked by him, Charon, this guy that's about to appear right here. And he is after an artifact. So what ends up happening is they run into this guy that needs some help. And this guy that's running away from Charon tells them that there is a sacred land, a place where people can live. And he has this black, like, yes, right here, this diamond to prove that this land exists. And he has a map to get there. So the kids are all going to go on this journey to try to find this place before Charon does, or before Charon comes after this guy that he was, oh, what is his name? Nolan, I think. But that's what this is. This is what the artwork looks like. This is another one that surprised me with the just the level of violence and some of the language in here, because it does feel like a kid's story, even in the way the artwork is done. And it does leave it open for more storytelling to come. There's really nothing extra in the back. The covers are all in front of the chapters. 122 pages, retailing for $22.99. Kill All Immortals. This book tells you exactly what it is set out to do. So this is collecting the 5-issue miniseries, Kill All Immortals by Zach Kaplan. And Fico Ocio doing the artwork. Colors by Thiago Roca. And then Hassan Otsmane Ilahu doing the lettering. And I'm a huge fan of the Port of Earth. So that's where I know Zach Kaplan from. And, oh my gosh, Fico Ocio does a lot of the artwork for No One Left to Fight. If you remember doing, I did an overview of that a few years ago. But he also has done work on, like, Star Wars. So this is all about a family with a secret. So we start off with this family that's meeting this group of another family. And they're about to go into business. And then one of the guys is like, you know what? I have second thoughts. And then they get massacred. So the only one that is left is just this one guy that's in charge of it, and he's like, you damn barbarians. And he's like, yeah, not really. We're more like Vikings. And then we move over to Paris, France, where we meet this young lady right here. This is Frey Oswald, who is kind of leaving her world behind and traveling, like everything that she knew. She is related to the people at the beginning who were doing all the slaughtering. And then she ends up in Kenya, where she meets this one guy named Owen Jabari. And he's a bit of a reporter, and then they're being chased. Now, she thinks people are coming after her because of her family. So what happens is they end up going to Iceland, where she wants Owen to meet her family, and she's greeted by her brothers. And the family has a secret. So as we get to the dinner table, she lets it known that Owen is a reporter, and they're like, how could you betray this family? And they cut her throat. Like, it is graphic and violent. She tells him to run, and he runs away. But she comes back to save him. So that's the pitch, because apparently what these people are Vikings. This family is a group of Vikings that are part of Eric the Red's exploration, and how they became immortal all has to do with this early exploration that happened. And she accidentally, or I guess no, she wanted to let them know, she wanted to be happy and be separated from them, but by telling them that Owen is a reporter, she broke a law. So now they're on the run. They're running away from her family. They come after her. And how do you even kill an immortal? And how did they become immortals? And who can she depend on when she's running away from her own family? This book has a total of 144 pages, and it does not stop. I mean, it is adrenaline pumped action right here. And the different covers. $19.99. I did say we had some horror comics, didn't I? Because we're looking at Arkham Horror, The Terror at the End of Time. Written by my buddy Cullen Bunn, with Andre Moody doing the artwork. You had me at that creative team, by the way. Absolutely love it. And you have colors by Valerio Aloro and lettering by Hassan Otsmane El Hio. And we do have the covers right before the beginning of each of the stories. This collects all 4 issues, has 128 pages, and retails for $19.99. If you played the Arkham horror game, that's awesome, because you're going to love this. Cullen Bunn's also a big fan of tabletop games. If you haven't, like me, this is still awesome because he can write one hell of a story. So this is all taking place in the 1920s. I think it's in 1929 where we start this. And it's about these 2 sisters. We have the character of Jenny Barnes, who's having this big party. And what's about to happen is her sister, Izzy, is attacked. Now, she's attacked by, as soon as you find out, by a cult. And she tries to get, and that's Jenny, try to get the help of this gentleman right here. He is a private detective named Joe Diamond. So Joe is a bit of a, I guess it's kind of like X-Files. So you have like one person telling the story and the other person's a non-believer. Like, no, I don't think that's a thing. So what she tells him is that her sister Izzy was abducted by a cult. And she doesn't know what this cult is going to do to her. So along with Joe, she ends up going to different places, locations where they hear that this cult might be. Now, it's not just about a cult, and is the cult real? What are they really worshiping? Because there's also some dimension hopping, time traveling type of story through here. And it just, again, Cullen Bunn just takes you places that you didn't expect to go from the first page. You're like, what the hell am I even reading? Which makes the stories a lot of fun. Does Jenny end up finding Izzy? Does Joe end up falling in love with Jenny? Well, one way to find out. I do want to say that it does leave it open for a lot more. Now, there's Arkham horror stuff all the way in the back, like other books, and of course the game itself. But then there's like extra stuff back here. Like these new allies, I guess you can play as Joe, you can play as Jenny. Is Izzy playable? There she is, Izzy Barnes, and Abigail, who's the cult leader. And the 3D printed Arkham Horror. So it is part of the Arkham Horror series. You don't need to have played the game or know what it is to even enjoy this, though. And we are now at the halfway point, or what I think is the halfway point of the video. Regardless, here are all of the spines of the books that I am doing a quick overview of. And also a small reminder to hit that like button, please. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Small thing you can do, but it does mean the world to us. Alright, let's continue with the overviews of all of these books that remain. Welcome to the Maynard. Oh man, what a freaking great, heartwarming story. This is written by James Robinson. So you had me there. Starman, of course. Given one of the best redemption arcs to Scarlet Witch in those pages of Scarlet Witch. Wrote, of course, Justice League, JSA. But anyway, working with Jay Bone as the artist, who has a very Archie type of art style. Ian Herring is the colorist, and Jim Campbell's the letterer. The story here is pretty simple. We have Pippin, or Pip Dale, this young lady here, who's about to become a bellhop at this place called the Maynard. Now, it starts off with a mystery. You see this cat burglar, Kenny Omar talk pretty one day, burglar here, who is stealing this green orb, and we'll find out later on what that orb is and who the thief is. But then we head to San Francisco, where we have our main character, Pip, open up this secret doorway to this hotel called the Maynard. And in this hotel, it's a magical place where she gets to meet different kind of people, and where magic is accepted. So yes, most people are probably thinking, oh, it's like Harry Potter, but a hotel. Yeah, probably that might be the best way to put it. But all the guests are wizards and witches and just mythical creatures, and she gets to meet Boots there, and then she gets to meet Trafford. He's the guy that is at the door, and then the hotel owner, and other characters like Rachel, who she becomes really good friends with. Now, through here, there is a bit of a mystery. There is a reason why she got this job, and what is going on in her personal life, and then of course who the thief is, and what exactly this MacGuffin is that she's trying to steal. Each one of the issues, because there's 4 issues collected in here, focuses on just different characters, or different guests of the hotel. So in a way, it's kind of like the Love Boat too. This second issue actually has one of my favorites, and that's the gentleman that lost his wife. Like, he was a magician, or I'm sorry, they're both wizards, and his wife passed away, and they would come here every year for their anniversary. I just think it's such a heartwarming and beautiful issue, and James Robinson has a way of just pulling at the heartstrings, again, with a bit of mystery thrown in there. And in the back, we do have some extras, including the sketchbook right here, Boots Malloy, and the Mollies, and just the different characters you're going to be seeing here. Sam Flynn, who's the detective, and Margot Rathbone, who is the hotel owner. But the book has a total of 120 pages and retails for $19.99. The Brawlhalla Tales, Nyx. So this is the Brawlhalla's first ever graphic novel that's based on the fighting game. So this is the character of Nyx right here. This is by R.J. Jost and Matt Woomer. Drawn by R.J. Jost, and Roshan Kuriyanil is the colorist, and Lucas Gattoni is the letterer. So, again, this is something I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure about the fighting game. Awesome if you played it and love it, and you don't need to know anything about it here. But Nyx is a freelancer. She works as an angel of death, trying to find people and take them to the underworld. So, on the very first issue that's collected in here, or I guess the first story, one of her, or I guess her target is Taros, the Minotaur. And as she's about to send him to the underworld, in comes in a Valkyrie who ends up taking him to Valhalla. So she goes back to, of course, Death and tells him the story. And it's up to her to go and find this character, this Minotaur. So she ends up going to the underworld, where apparently you can't really get out as easy as you can get in. So in order to get out, you have to enter a tournament, and who she enters the tournament with is the actual Valkyrie. So both of them have to work together to try to defeat just different opponents as a team to try to get out. Cute story, very anime-ish, and there's even a chapter here on how to draw Nyx, and other drawings of, I guess, fans of Nyx, and then the bio on the creators. The book has a total of 112 pages and retails for $19.99. This one here's definitely for teens, absolutely. The Stoneshore Register. This is by G. Willow Wilson and M.K. Perker, and you may be familiar with those names because they're the ones that did Air together. Oh, I love that book. And this is lettering by Richard Bruning. It's all done in black and white, and it is absolutely stunning. Taking place in Stoneshore, Washington in October, where we are about to meet our main character. It's about this young lady right here, named Fadumo, who is in need of a job. So she goes to the newspaper company to try to find a job, and ends up getting hired. Now, in this particular town, in this particular city, we see that not only do you see this freaky giant stone creature right here that's kind of guarding the city in a way, but it's just a statue, right? Or I'm sorry, it's not a city, it's a little town. But there's a whole mystery because it seems like ships vanish here, and there's mysteries about, like, no one's trying to solve anything. It's just that the town of Stoneshore is so used to just different little creatures coming around, and perhaps there's something more to it than when you first step foot into this little town. And there's definitely a supernatural element here, but it's not like a big deal to the townspeople. And it's not about that, because I do want to stress that, like, if you're thinking, oh, okay, so it's about the main character of Fadumo just going into this little town and becoming a journalist and exploring the supernatural aspects. She does a little bit of that. but it really feels like more of more like a daydream type of story. Like everything feels just like she's almost able to solve things, but then she kind of pulls back and maybe doesn't want to. I wish I could describe it more because it's more of an experience than just the supernatural mystery that is going on here. It's more of a slice of life, honestly. And it just happens to be that there's magical creatures around. So in a way, it kind of reminds me of a Studio Ghibli movie. Just with a little bit more mature themes in here. Well, then again, some of the Ghibli movies do have mature themes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be something completely different. I thought it was going to be a supernatural mystery, but no, it's more about getting to know Fadumo and the entire town through her eyes. With, of course, the supernatural flair to it. And in the back, you have other burger books, so it is a burger book. Love seeing that name. And this book itself has a total of 128 pages and retails for $24.99. It is a little bit smaller than your other books, too. Just by a tad. Living Hell, while we have it out here. Caitlin Yarsky is the creator with Clayton Cowles, of course, doing the lettering. And my goodness, I love Caitlin's artwork. So she did the script, the art, and the colors, and Clayton Cowles does the lettering. And this is all about Jerome Jamil, who's this bartender here and a loving father. Like, his relationship with his daughter, Jo, is so cute, and it reminds me of my oldest daughter and I, just how close we really are when it comes to movies. And okay, so really quick, what's happening here is that you see him and Sita, his wife, are kind of growing apart because she might be jealous of his relationship with his young daughter. And you see a family photos that she's put together for a project in school, and sure enough, Sita is not there. She's not in a lot of pictures. She's just in one. And she feels like she's so distant from everyone in the family. Now, he's a good guy. He's a good father. He's great at his job. And has his own friend. I love the art, man. It just looks so unique. But what ends up happening is that on the way home, after closing the bar, he is approached by this demonic-looking creature. And this is one of Hell's most vicious bounty hunters, who is here to claim him as a bounty. So now you're like, wait a second, who is this guy? And he ends up killing him in self-defense. Again, it goes in like really brutal ways. And then he's approached by this guy right here, who is a guardian of the fourth gate. And he is giving him a new job, if you will. Because he knows he's a father, he knows he is a bartender, but now he has another job. And when he tries to tell his wife about it, she freaks out and ends up leaving, so she goes missing. But what he has become is a shepherd. And the shepherd must go out there and try to get his sheep, of course, and take them back to the other world if they've broken all kinds of rules. So the first people that he goes up to is oh my gosh, what are they called? They're these human-eating ghosts. They're the Jikiniki, I think. And you're going to see all kinds of lore through here. And then you're going to see, his connection to his daughter. And does his wife come back into the picture? The book has a total of 120 pages and retails for $19.99. In the back, you do have the covers here. Again, she is such a great artist. Really like her stuff. And that is Living Hell. Yucatan 1512. This is a really quick read. And it is a short story, and it's also a really quick read by Alex Vede. I think this is his first graphic novel he worked on. Story, Art, and Letters by Alex Vede. And it is the story that takes place in 1512 with a bunch of Spanish soldiers, so a bunch of Spanish conquistadors on this ship, coming over to this land. And it's all about how this priest right here is dying, and he's telling them of this place that he saw. And he's speaking in riddles, but one of the things that they understand is gold, right? So they go here, and they're trying to find the rest of the priests that were here, and they find the chapel, and they're going to see if any of the friars are left. So what they're looking for is Mayan gold. So then we have one of the main soldiers, or I guess our main protagonist here, what is his name? Sorolla. And Sorolla is got a past himself. He's done a lot of bad things. But what happens is that they end up finding a bunch of Mayan people. They go to battle, and then they start capturing some, including this young lady and her mother. And the mother ends up getting killed by the captain, and that's when Sorolla kind of snaps and tells the young girl to run. So they both are being chased by these Spanish soldiers. They don't believe that somebody like Sorolla could betray them like that. So she takes Sorolla to the city where he thinks, oh, this is the Mayan city. But where she's really taking him to is this temple where she pours her blood, like she cuts her hand and pours her blood into this symbol right here and awakens these guardians. So the rest of the story of the Yucatan Peninsula in 1512 is a big battle between these Mayan guardians, these big guys right here, and Spanish soldiers. This book gets my seal of approval. I love the concept. I wish it was an animated short or a cartoon or an animated movie. I loved everything about this. The artwork, the pacing, the characters. I felt really bad for the young girl who just lost her mom. Or we think it's her mom. By the way, they talk is like this in symbols. I thought that was just amazing addition to the already great story. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I wanted Sorolla to survive. Does he? Or does he end up with this girl? What do the Guardians want? Yeah, man, this was good. This was really good. Here, let's look at the extras in the back for the concept art. Yes, to be the premiere graphic novel of Alex Vede, I thought it was just took me by surprise how well it was done. Then in the back you get extra artwork. He's one great artist, and I really like the story too, so he's a great storyteller. Prodigy, Slaves of Mars. This is another one of the Miller World books. So you saw the Netflix logo there. And that's your title page, and over here is the credits. Mark Miller, Stefano Landini doing the art, Michelle Asacorn is the colors, and Clem Robbins is the letterer. So it starts off in East Africa 20 years ago, where we see this man right here, who is a bit of a scientist fighting off against this guerrilla military people. Then we see 20 years later, it's a story of his son. This is Edison Crane, who is your James Bond, Bruce Wayne, Sherlock Holmes, smartest guy, and a bit of a badass and adventurer. And what happens is that he finds out by the government that his father had been killed because of something that he saw perhaps in Mars. So, like, somebody is after him, and he can't get his dad's help anymore. So what he ends up doing is seeking the help. So again, he's a bit of a badass, but he's going to need help, especially when he has been framed for a mass shooting. He's getting the help of his brother, who he hasn't talked to in 20 years. And this is Elijah. So together, the two brothers have to figure out what happened to their dad. And they're both damn smart and badasses, like both of them. So now they're up against the government and trying to find out exactly what happened to their dad. And it goes, yeah, this goes in ways, I mean, I should have known where it went because of the title, Slaves of Mars. But it does go in supernatural ways I didn't expect it to go. Lots of sci-fi in here more than anything. This collects the 5-issue miniseries, 144 pages. In the back, we do have the bio on the creators. And the book retails for $19.99. Patra. Another book I got excited about. Some books I can't help but get excited about, not because of the premise or really the cover or anything, but because of the creators. This is James Robinson working with Scott Collins, and letters by Jim Campbell. And Patra is created by James Robinson and Scott Collins. This is all about this young girl who is going to go through a bit of a mystery that involves a murder. So it all takes place in 2022 and in Minnesota, where there has been a huge murder. A family has been killed and the police are after whoever did it. And then we see this young girl wake up and she wakes up, and whenever danger is around, this mask and huge knife appears that she's able to just kind of throw away and make disappear. And then she sees this dog that she recognizes right away. And she starts thinking to herself, is she dead? Or what is going on? So this is Patra. But then later on, the police officers are visited by Dr. Dakari, who's kind of like Loomis, right? Like your Dr. Loomis from Halloween, who tells him about this particular patient of his named Jeremy Jones. So Jeremy Jones, he thinks, is the person responsible for all these murders. So this story kind of becomes the Jeremy Jones versus Patra type of story, but it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot of twists and turns in this because you don't really know where the story's going to go. There's definitely that horror and supernatural element in here, but also what happened to Patra? What happened to her family? She sees visions of her sister. She sees visions of her dog. No one can see her. Is she dead? Is she alive? Has she become a serial killer herself? A lot of horrific imagery through here, by the way. So this is definitely mature readers. And let's look in the back here for the extras. And we get character designs. The book has a total of 128 pages and retails for $19.99. Yojimbot. Volume 1, Metal Silence! Oh man, I don't know how I missed the title Volume 1. I was excited when reading this one. This one's a lot of fun. So this is by Sylvain Repos, with Noiri doing the colors. And I thought it was a standalone graphic novel. This is a pretty quick read. It's all in this post-distant future in Japan, where we see this D80, I think it's D86 or D68. This samurai type of robot right here reenacts scenes from what you would see in feudal Japan movies, or like Kurosawa films, for example, or even anime. But as it turns out, they were just practicing right here. These two robots were just practicing. So it's 063, that's his name. So you see that he is this robot in this future, and in this particular land, it looks like it's ruled by just a bunch of robots, and that's where he ends up finding this little guy right here. This is Hiro, and Hiro ends up meeting 068 and kind of befriends him, and there are certain rules when it comes to robots, like harming humans and stuff. Now, Hiro's father, Hideo, has something going on. He's trying to get off this island because he finds out that the military who is protecting this island has been lying to them about why they cannot leave the island. So he's been talking to somebody off the island, off this robot inhabited island, and he wants to travel out of it with, of course, his son. Now, unfortunately, the military comes in and they murder the father. And, oh man, it is sad. So now it's up to 068 to take care of Hiro because of the updated commands. And it becomes a kind of like a Lone Wolf and Cub story where 068, by the way, eventually will get a name because Hiro decides to name his robot friends. It's not just him. Along with a couple of other robots, will take care of Hiro and try to get him off the island. Of course, the military comes in, and then when you see who's exactly pulling the strings of the military, you understand a little bit more as to why they're keeping it a secret, or the secret that the character of Hideo found out. This book has a total of 160 pages. This is what the luscious colors look like and the artwork looks like. And not a lot of extras in the back. Actually, not any extras in the back. And printed in this glossy paper stock. And I cannot wait, and I hope a volume 2 is right around the corner. The EC Archives Crime Suspense Stories Volume 3. Continuing this amazing series to be collected this time around in trade paperback. And this is collecting issues 13 through 18 of Crime and Suspense Stories. Here's your introduction by Grant Gaisman, talking about the EC Library, and then the foreword by David De La Valle, who, if you are a fan of horror, probably already know. Crime Suspense Stories 13. So issues 13 through 18 collected in here, 216 pages, and retailing for, I think this one is $19.99? Yeah, $19.99. Whereas the hardcover is $49.99. So in here you are going to see a lot of different creators through the EC Comics. If you're familiar with EC Comics, you know they had the top of the line creators just doing a lot of work that they couldn't normally do in superhero comics. And this is no exception. This is a true crime stories where most people get their comeuppance, but some unfortunately don't. Not everyone has a good and happy ending. But oh my gosh, the talent in here is just insane. Like Al Williamson, Jack Cammon, Bill Gaines, Johnny Craig, Al Feldstein, Joe Orlando, and George Evans, just to name a few of the amazing creators in this particular collection here. Going through, of course, the 50s. This one actually has, let me see if I can find it really quick. Yes, right here. 149. So this is a story by Ray Bradbury. So right before publication of these books, Ray Bradbury actually signed a deal with EC Comics to exclusively write stories. And then, of course, there was a huge falling out later on. But yes, there were some actual Ray Bradbury stories in here. I think there's just a couple. And most of these stories are about infidelity, if you will. Like, it's the idea that there's a couple and one is cheating on the other and the other one finds out. And sometimes it goes into the extremes. Some of the stories in here were, of course, borrowed for Tales from the Crypt, the TV show. And speaking of Tales from the Crypt, more from the EC library. If you haven't had a chance to read these are amazing, way more mature than they had every right to be for comics back in the day. Last but certainly not least is the Madman Omnibus Volume 1. And much like all the other Dark Horse Omnis, or as they call the Omnibus editions, it is a trade paperback size. So we have the library editions released, and this is the Omnibus edition compared to it. Now, it is the exact same material, though. This has 680 pages, and it reprints a lot of the early work of Mike Allred, including the introduction of Frankenstein. Say it as fast as you want to. But this collects the Madman Original Series 1 through 3, Madman Adventures 1 through 3, the Madman Comics 1 through 10. That's when Dark Horse started publishing the book. And it shows his early adventures. And there's even some bonus pinups through here. I think, yeah, you've got legends like Mobius. You've got like Jack Kirby, Frank Frazetta. People that are no longer with us doing pinups of this character that some of you may be familiar with. I've done a deep dive of the first volume if you want to go and check that out, where I talk more about the stories. But this is the early stuff by Mike Allred. You'll see the evolution of his art, and later on you'll actually see more of a lot more of his older stuff collected in this future volumes. But the book has a total of 680 pages. One of the things I wanted to do, though, was actually compare not the size of the book per se, but just the thickness of it. Man, I'm going to get pretty good at this one day. So we know this is printed in this really thick, glossy paper stock. And this is thinner, but I wanted to see what the differences were in the colors because of the different paper stock they're using. Maybe it's got more of a reddish finish to it. But, I mean, you can't really tell that much. At least not on film. But this is the beginning. There's going to be a total of 6 of these. So these are also a little bit cheaper because compared to the library edition, now library edition was $99.99. You're going to see other characters in here from Dark Horse as well as like Big Guy and Hellboy. But this one is $34.99. So, actually, is it? No, I'm so sorry. It's $49.99. But the library edition was $99. So it's half the price. The exact same content. It's just a little bit smaller and in a softcover format. Collecting the early era of Madman. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these collected editions. In the comments down below, let me know what you've picked up recently, what you've read through Comixology or you've gotten through Dark Horse Comics for the physical release, and what you're currently enjoying in case any of these continue into an ongoing series or another mini-series. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love!